Hey, what up, everybody? It's your boy Carson Fox with another edition of Fox on West Virginia Mountaineer Sports. And I'm trying not to strain my voice any more than I already have after last night's debacle in Houston, Texas, after it looked as if West Virginia was going to come away with a 39-35 victory, but instead ended up in a 41-39 defeat to the Houston Cougars, the lowly Houston Cougars, who had yet to win a game in the new Big 12 conference that they are a part of. So, as I like to do with these game recaps videos, I'll give you a game recap in 2 minutes in case you didn't watch this game or you're going back and watching this game and don't remember exactly the details, but I'll just try and break it down for you as best I can in 2 minutes. So, starting off, West Virginia used an 8-minute drive on its first offensive possession to just get a field goal when Houston's Matthew Golden, who may be the best kick returner in the Big 12 Conference, ran the kickoff back 100 yards to make it 7-3 Houston early. The Mountaineers closed off the quarter with a 69-yard drive rebuttal, capped off by an exhilarating touchdown run by C.J. Donaldson, in which Garrett Green threw the lead block for Donaldson to score, and West Virginia took a 10-7 lead. The two teams set football back 50 years with their offensive showings in the second quarter, which nearly included a Houston punt return for a touchdown that was called back for holding. But then Houston had favorable field position with 2 minutes left in the quarter and ended the half up 14-10 thanks to a Donovan Smith rushing touchdown. Mountaineers responded out of the half with a touchdown on a beautiful 35-yard flea flicker to Jaylen to go up 17-14, and could have then taken control of the game nearing midway of the third quarter when Garrett Green hit Jaylen Anderson on a beautifully thrown wheel route near the corner of the end zone. Ball bounced right off his hands and into Houston's defensive backs, Isaiah Hamilton's. That was a game changer. This is when Smith really started to heat up for Houston. Stacy Sneed, the running back, hit a 58-yard run, and Smith did the rest en route to a go-ahead score 21-17. But Green in the offense really started to get going as well, especially Devin Carter, thanks to his 49-yard reception, 24-21 West Virginia. Houston retaliated with a touchdown, 28-24, and when WVU then went 3 and out, Houston scored once more. It felt like the game was really over at 35-24 with 7.5 left to play in the fourth quarter. But Green went on a 75-yard drive in 4 minutes that ended in a rushing touchdown by the quarterback, and then a hugely important 2-point conversion pass to Jaylen to cut the Houston lead to just 3 points. WVU had to use all of its timeouts, but forced Houston to punt, thankfully. So with 1 minute and 17 seconds left on the clock, downfield strikes to Cole Taylor and Devin Carter led WVU to the 50-yard line. On 4th and 10, under 20 seconds to play, Green hit Hudson Clement on a crossing pattern in which he used his speed and scored a touchdown with just 12 seconds left to play in the ball game. So West Virginia at that point in time up 39-35. Field goal's not going to do anything for Houston. You have to score a touchdown. Unfortunately, on that touchdown, Green was called for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for taking his helmet off in the end zone, forcing West Virginia to have to kick off from its own 20-yard line instead of the 35. So with favorable field position for a Hail Mary, unbelievably, Smith threw up a Hail Mary with no time left on the clock from Houston's 49-yard line. The ball was batted up in the air by both Houston wide receivers and WVU defensive backs, only for it to fall right into the hands of Houston's wide receiver, Stephon Johnson, and Houston walked out victorious 41-39 in an absolute stunner. So I got to take a second really I've been trying to, find the poise and, kind of calm down, come back to earth, because if I had done this recap video, it would have been a whole lot different. Last night, even this morning, I felt like going scorched earth, and it might still come off this way. So I just want to say at the end of the day that these are still 18 to 23, maybe even 24-year-old guys who I love seeing pictures by Garrett Green and Zach Frazier back at WVU Children's Medicine today, meeting with young fans at the hospital. So there are still good people out there. This is just a game, but I still want to, for the sake of what I do on these videos, is talk about the game itself. So not personal. This is not personal whatsoever. But where I want to start off in my analysis is the condemnation of this offense in the first half, especially in the second quarter, from the coordinator, who happens to also be the head coach, down to the offensive linemen, who looked like they were playing with shoes of lead and not really being physical whatsoever, and the quarterback, who was just erratic with his passing in the first half. So really, what kind of a game plan was that? Is the objective for this team to score points, or is it to simply get up by 3 and try to run the clock out? Because pretty clearly, as we saw evidenced late in the game, this offense has the capability of being up-tempo, air raid, and attacking. It just chooses not to. So does this coaching staff have that little faith, secretly, in this defense, that if the offense doesn't own 40 or more minutes of game time, that the defense will just get whipped up and down the field like we saw against Baylor last season? That was embarrassing to me. To be held to just 10 points when you completely own the time of possession by running that slow, vanilla, conservative, weak excuse of an offense against that G5 level defense in Houston. Especially when WVU's defense, time and time again, looked like it was picking up where it left off against TCU in the second half, carried over into the first half, and was getting you stops. So no excuses anymore in Game 6 of a season to start that slow when you had 10 days to prepare for this game. I can understand that kind of performance against Penn State. I totally get the circling of the wagons and the backyard brawl, and also not putting Nico Marchiol in high-risk situations in a rainstorm against Texas Tech. But that was so stereotypical 2020, 2021, a Neil Brown offense, completely to a T. I thought West Virginia was really past that. I thought that there was more confidence in this team in year 5 of the head coaching regime, that you're better than that. And that's not the kind of football that West Virginia is trying to be playing. It's not Iowa. Why are you trying to look like Iowa out there? But then the kickoff return for a touchdown, was a right hook to the kidney. I don't know what Lance Dixon was doing there, hitting the guy, blocking instead of the guy straight in front of him who had the ball. But Andrew Wilson Lamp running down, missing a tackle too on that kickoff return. Like, what is he contributing to this team this year? It just seemed like that kickoff return for a touchdown seemed to paralyze West Virginia into playing scared offensively. And then granted, also the Jaylen Anderson fumble on the toss play didn't help, and neither did the unfavorable field position. But I felt like where the most blame needs to be doled out is how frustrating the offense was in the first half. Letting Houston hang around when there wasn't even any more than probably 20,000 fans in the seats, so it's not like you're playing at Beaver Stadium, and your defense time and time again was getting you stops, and you say thank you by just doing that garbage. Mike Kazaza tweeted a great stat at halftime. West Virginia under Neil Brown previously, before last night, was 7-21 when trailing at halftime, or 7-20. While Houston under Holgorsen was previously 21-6 when leading at halftime. So you felt it in the numbers right there that this game, the odds were stacked against West Virginia, what it felt like for just playing so putrid in the first half. Another point. Color commentator Spencer Tillman sure did love using the word inflection point during the broadcast, but I really think he was exactly right when calling the Jaylen Anderson missed touchdown reception into the hands of Isaiah Hamilton a game-changing play. It really was. It was a killer. You have to catch that ball, or at least not put it straight into the hands of the defender, especially when Houston never turned the ball over in this game and obviously hit the kickoff return for a touchdown, and at that point almost had a punt return for a touchdown that was called back due to holding. So it was a lot of fluky plays, what it seemed like, that West Virginia just wasn't prepared, wasn't engaged, wasn't, I don't know. I don't know if there wasn't a motivation factor or what, but it just seemed like they, just things were not going right for what seemed like long periods and long stretches within this game, even though it had some exhilarating moments like the Donaldson touchdown in the first half. But I got to give credit where credit's due. Coach Holgerson in this offense for Houston figured out the WVU defense in the second half, and it really contributed to Donovan Smith. His size, he was a load to bring down. If he could get out of arm tackles on the rush by the defensive linemen and linebackers, both when either he was cleanly throwing from the pocket or escaping to the sidelines, he found the right guys in the right places. He was helped out by a couple of pass interference calls, I'm not going to lie, but he really made this passing attack shine and played better than the numbers show in his yards per yard comparatively to Garrett Green in this game. So just as the game went on, and even now looking forward, my worries have really exacerbated without Aubrey Burks in there. And while I still think he has a bright future, Trey Lathan is farther ahead in his development over Ben Cutter. So all of the fears we had about the will linebacker position preseason was realized in this game, what it felt like, with now Lathan done for the season and no Jeremiah Trotter, who was a highly coveted recruit out of high school, and we have yet to see this season because he tore his ACL in spring camp. So I still think Beanie Bishop got pushed off, causing him to mistime his jump on the touchdown reception by Sam Brown. But it was WVU really had no answer, what it seemed like, for wide receiver Joseph Manjack IV. And Stephon Johnson's curl route that he turned around and turned into a big gainer just missed tackles. And Neil Brown reiterated that in this game. The sideline-to-sideline speed, like the Snead run, it just seemed like West Virginia really wasn't covering the boundaries as well as they had against TCU and Texas Tech, sideline to sideline, and that's where Houston really hurt them. So if that was a part of the game plan that Holgerson and staff figured out, then credit to them. But it just seemed like the pass rush could get close. I thought the rotations used by the defensive line were good, but Smith was just so big and so strong. He could fight through contact. He could make throws. He could go on design runs, especially with a lead blocker in front of him. He was really the entire package and played much better than I expected to him in this game. But and Brown spoke to this in his post-game press conference, and before the Hudson Clement play, WVU just didn't play well disciplined enough to win this game, which made it very difficult for me to want to tweet during the game that West Virginia should be winning this game. You felt it, you knew it, the time of possession showed it, but just in all three phases, special teams, offense, defense, just not good enough on this night, in this occasion. I still stand by what I said in the Houston preview video, that it is just not a good team. And after watching them play, I still think they're devoid of talent along the offensive line. They don't have a north-south runner at running back, and the secondary was worse than TCU. So this was a prime example of a letdown game in which WVU played down to its competition, namely because of the flaccid, Pee Wee League, slow kind of offense they deployed in the first half. But other phases of this game, special teams, giving up the kickoff return for a touchdown was a hurt. Really, really hurt. Just even more so, I feel like, for the whole psyche of the team. They got nothing in the punt return game. And there were a couple of close calls where I'm like, oh, Preston Fox, why just didn't you call a fair catch out there? Almost gave up the punt return for a touchdown. And then, of course, Hayes having to kick off from WVU's 20 instead of the 35-yard line at game's end. So special teams, got to give the credit and check mark over to Houston after this game's over. Also, 8 penalties for 84 yards, a season high. West Virginia was, I think, averaging just 3 penalties in a game so far this season. So to have more than double, that's bad. And yes, you got the Big 12's D crew. So it called a game in a very similar grade manner, inconsistently all night. Afraid to make calls at warranted times and then calling things that made no sense at others. But good teams don't put themselves in situations in which officiating can dictate the game. And against an inferior opponent in Houston, it shouldn't come down to that. And that was just very low on the totem pole of things I feel like that WVU was responsible for this loss. And also no turnovers forced. Lance Dixon is not going to catch that Donovan Smith fastball that hit him in the hands. I know Jai Favris made contact with him whenever the ball hit his hands, but it was already pretty much on the ground by the time Favris hit him. But how many dropped interceptions is this team going to have this season? So I'm gonna I'm gonna go all Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on you from the famous Mail episode, and that right there is the end. Let's talk about the end. Can we talk about the end, please, guys? I've been dying to talk with you all day about the end. The first touchdown drive by Green was everything we fans have been wanting to see all season now. And this is word to the wise moving forward that Brown needs to start letting Green rip it up, and when he does, that will start opening up the holes in the run game. Anything different in West Virginia is playing scared. I didn't know Green had that ability. I didn't know the receivers had that ability. And maybe it's, again, because they were playing Houston, not Oklahoma. But if you look down the rest of this schedule, and there are 5 more opponents you can call this kind of game against and witness success offensively throwing the ball downfield. Devin Carter and Cole Taylor were the players of the game for me. E.J. Horton had an awesome catch. And what can you say about Hudson Clement pulling that stunner that really should have been the game winner? I could not tell really where Garrett Green took his helmet off, but if it was truly on the sidelines, then it's BS that he was called for it. But it doesn't sound like he was, and Brown was fired up about it. Most of all, if anything, that was the thing that he was most frustrated with in the post-game press conference. Green took ownership of it in the post-game press conference, but at that point in time, what are their empty words? That's really a dereliction of duty to not be self-aware enough and not mature enough that you can't do that and give the opponent a shot at field goal position. I really sadly think that was karma for what happened with Will Grier and the offense, and whenever they gave Texas fans horns down. That's exactly what came to my mind whenever West Virginia was called for it. Oh no, West Virginia got away with it came out with a victory in 2018 at Darrell K. Royal Stadium. Now that they lose that field position with a dangerous returner and Golden back there, does it finally bite you? And sadly it did. I still really have no words for the Hail Mary. I didn't really do the research into this, but I don't know if West Virginia's ever in its 130-year history been beat on a Hail Mary. I know it's won and lost in overtime many a time, so that's not the same. That's not the same kind of thing of what I'm talking about here. Is from a 49-yard pass up in the air as time expires, felt almost like the Ronald Ramon type of buzzer beater in basketball from 15, 16 years ago. Yes, the defensive lineman pursuing Smith got held, but there wasn't a true knockdown by any of WVU's defensive backs on the play. The ball was tipped up, giving Houston a chance, and they got it. A stunner, schoolyard BS, as they would say in the longest yard. I don't know much more to say about that. If you want to have why you had a spy in the backfield watching if Donovan Smith was going to run, I don't know what that was. Yeah, we saw how the linemen were getting held. Could you have perhaps put a Cole Taylor or Devin Carter or somebody back there, some wide receivers or, just big guys who could knock the ball down once a jump ball goes up in the air? Maybe, but you don't have any timeouts to call the team over, get the set players on the field. You're just doing what you instinctually know is and drop back 40 yards to protect the end zone. But that's the number one thing they tell you on plays like that is just knock the ball down. Don't try and intercept it, knock the ball down. And they failed to do so. And I watched Neil Brown's press conference. And I think he said all the same things that I'm saying. The fault and blame extends from the coaching staff down to the players just as equally as much. So everybody who wants to grill Neil Brown for this game, grill him for that first half game plan offensively, because that was really beneath him. I just don't understand why you wanted to go all Kirk Ferentz and you're up 10-7 and let's try and work clock. There's so much more game to be played. And your defense was getting you stops. So score. Get up 2 scores. And I know you had the chance with the Jaylen Anderson pass. So that hurt. That hurt so bad. Not an interception, really, I'm going to call against Green in that situation. And Green, at the end of the day, threw for a career high, nearly 400 yards. He was amazing in the second half. They really accelerated this offense. And, like I said, there were issues in all 3 phases of the game. So it's not just on the head coach. It's on more coaches. It's on more players. And I know you wish you had Wyatt Milam, Tomas Remak to stabilize the left side of the line. I know you wanted to have Trey Lathan to use his speed side to side. Aubrey Burks out in the backfield at defensive back. They're still out without a guy in Montre Miller at cornerback that, you could at least use in some sub packages that we haven't got to see, unfortunately, this year. I already mentioned Trotter, and we're also down Keyshawn Cobb for the whole season. But you played down to your competition, and you got beat. And that's the most disappointing thing. Losing to Penn State, week 1, on the road, all of those things. Like, you can give this team a pass, and they'll regroup. And I'm very happy still for winning all those 4 straight games, most important being the backyard brawl. But to come out here against Houston and lose that game, takes the wind out of your sails, what it seems like, at least through the weekend. It sucks that this even had to be on a Thursday night, so it's going to carry over in your minds as you're watching games tomorrow all day. It's like, well, now you're back down what it seems like. Are you the 4th best team in the Big 12 now, behind Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas? Are you where is this team realistically? But I think that looking forward, it's a good thing that West Virginia is coming home next week for homecoming. I think there'll be a good showing, good a 3:30 kickoff. A lot of fans will, at least alumni, so the older folks, at least will be back for homecoming. You had a bye week in between. There's still a ton to play for. The goal for this season, being 8 wins, including a bowl game appearance, is still well at hand, especially with the way the schedule is set up. But again, you think Houston would have been, like I said, with Cincinnati, I feel like the 2 wins you could definitely mark down for the rest of the schedule, and you lose that game like that. So you can't play down to your competition. You have to have this winning killer mentality out there, that you're not just going to hang around for 4 quarters and hope and pray by the end of it that you come up with some final stop or field goal or something of which. Like, you can't live and die by the way how TCU played last season. That's just not a good way to live. That this team still has yet to, in almost 3 years, beat a Big 12 opponent by more than 10 points. Why it has to always come down, what it seems like, to the final possession, offensive or defense. It's just frustrating, and it's putting 8 years on my lifespan. I feel aged. So I really think you got to, unfortunately, it really hurts, but you got to put this one behind you as best you can. Regroup, and more important, I think West Virginia is at a crossroads of what it can be and needs to be offensively moving forward under Neil Brown. The whole coaching staff really needs to look at is, can you play faster? Can you dictate terms more offensively if you put the trust in Green to throw the ball downfield? Devin Carter looked really good out there. Cole Taylor is probably the best tight end you've had in I don't know how long. The moves that he was jumping over guys at his 6'7" frame was just, I haven't seen that out of the tight end position. Even, I don't know if Tyler Urban ever did that back in the day. And he's probably the best tight end, along with Trevon Wesco, that West Virginia's had of my lifetime. I'm Probably I'm too young, I feel like, for the Anthony Beck days. I don't remember Anthony Beck. I still think that this team, once you pass the ball more downfield, it's going to open up more running lanes for C.J. Donaldson, who I think is just frustrated that this continues to keep happening game in and game out. Thankfully, some holes in the first half while you were trying to beat the door down were opening up, but just not enough that if you're using Jaheim White or Jaylen Anderson. I've totally forgotten pretty much about Justin Johnson at this point in the season. How many plays has he really played this year? So who knows what's happening there with this running back room. Is it whittled really down to 3 between those three players? If you can use those 2 as your change of pace guy to a Donaldson and still get him close to 20 carries per game, let Green throw the ball down the field more and try and open it up and score more points. I know that it's counter to what Neil Brown really is and wants to be, and I get his blueprint to an extent, but I don't even know if you get back in Aubrey Burks to get this team as completely healthy as it is, that you can still try and win the way that they had against TCU, Texas Tech, and Pitt. You got to have more faith in your offense to be able to give your defense more time. And I know that the scariest thing I feel like for Brown is 3 and outs, quick drives, don't take a lot of time off the clock. You're putting out, because that's exactly what West Virginia was doing against Houston in the first half, was trying to wear them down, to then have a big fourth quarter. But in the Big 12, teams get hot. Offenses get hot. They figure something out, and they go. So to try and play this type of circle the wagons defense first for 4 quarters, I just don't know if you're there, if you're exactly there yet defensively. So it's hard to tell. If you feel that way, I'd love to know. Comment here on this video, or you can tweet at me. I want to know, what do you feel about this offense moving forward? How you feel about the defense moving forward? I think if it's concerning for different reasons on both sides. And, ultimately losing to Dana Holgorsen just felt like a swift kick to the nads, to put it bluntly. I mean, I was very, I don't know how, if I was happier seeing his face, how pissed off he was when Hudson Clement caught that ball, as I was at West Virginia beating Pitt this year in the backyard brawl. It's close. It's really close. Should have had that win. Should have had that win so bad. So that's it. That's all I got to say for this game. Put it to bed. Burn the tape, and let's move forward and try and get a win next week against Oklahoma State. So let's go. Hail West Virginia, and we'll talk next week.